for the intro. Hello and welcome to DervDerp and Friends Reviews. I'm DervDerp.
I am Ski Nerd.
Today we're doing the last 4 episodes of Great Teacher Onizuka, which was episodes
Buckle. Oh, sorry.
40, 41, 42, and 43.
Buckle up, because these last 4 episodes were fucking awesome. At least in my opinion. It's definitely a conclusion to a story arc. And starts off in Okinawa. We're still in Okinawa. And so episode 40.
Starts out with Uehara Ranko dreaming about going on a walk at the beach with Yoshikawa.
Yep. And she wakes up and it turns into like a soap opera kind of thing. But it's just like, I've always loved you. You have? Oh my god, why are you saying this here? And it's just like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound like either of them. But it turns out she wakes up from a dream and Onizuka is recording this. And she's like, what are you doing in my room? You're not supposed to record someone underage like me. Like, what the hell are you doing? And he's just like, ha 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 ha, I got that. So that was good.
Then it cues to the vice principal just going on a giant rant about him needing a life.
Yep. He's in his hospital bed because he was got caught in that fishing net, and he was reflecting on his life. He's just like, I got no, like, during the week I'm doing stuff. On Sundays I golf just for social reasons, and then if I do sleep in, my wife will take a vacuum cleaner and suck my face with it, and he never has time for himself, um, and so that was like a really cool moment. I think he does more. I wrote so many notes for this one. Oh, right. Anyways.
It goes back to him throughout the whole episode.
Yeah, it goes back and forth. Yeah.
And then it goes to them back on the beach with Anko and the rest of the bitch squad talking. And Anko gets hit by a volleyball.
Yep. And then immediately, even though it was Onizuka that did it, immediately they blame Yoshikawa. They're like, "Oh man, my drink spilled. You got to get me a new drink. What flavor do you want? What flavor do you want?" And this time, Anko is like, "No, no, we shouldn't get him in trouble because she likes him now." And he because Yoshikawa is about to like go do it, and then she's like, "No, no, don't do it." So he goes off to play volleyball, and they get like, they're like, "Oh, that's a good plan. What should we do next to him? Oh yeah, we should take all his stuff. That'll be really funny. He might go crazy again." And she's like, "No, no, don't do that either." And then they suggest something else. I can't remember what it is. And she's like, "No, no, don't do that either." And they're like, "Wait a minute. Well, why are you not doing these? Why do you not want to do these things? Do you have like feelings for like Yoshikawa?" And she's like, "No, no." She's like denying it. She's like trying to make excuses because she doesn't want to like ruin his day because he's a hero to her. Boom. And I think they were talking about boy trouble or boy problems, and they're like, "Oh, how do we talk to this boy? How do we talk to this boy? Blah blah blah." Then it cuts to they're in a shop. Everybody's in a shop or whatever, and they're buying star sand. And Anko finds these two. It's like star sand is like is like a love wish kind of thing.
Wishing sand is what they call it in the dub.
Okay. Um,
Magical wishing sand.
yeah. So in the Japanese version, they just Star Stand. I guess that's the official name. I don't know. I've never heard of it before.
I guess magical wishing sand sounded better to the English audience.
Yeah. Well, they eventually they kind of explain it what it is. They're like, oh yeah, you buy this and you make a wish on it and your love interest will come true or whatever. And so they're all the girls are like, oh, we should buy this Star Sand, and me, I'm like, that's fucking so stupid. Stop it. But they are like 14, so it makes sense. Um, and Anko finds two like broken heart pieces that you take two and you put them together or whatever. And she found her name and she found Yoshikawa's name. She put it in and she's like, "What am I doing? Oh, he's a loser. Oh, I can't like him." Blah blah blah. And then it cuts to a scene where a girl is talking to a much shorter girl, and she's like, "Yeah, you got to take this. You got to get this sand. You got to tell him your feelings." And then the girl smiles, and it's one of those weird teeth people, and I was just like, "Oh my god, what is going on?" They brought that back. Um, and then it cuts to the vice principal again, and this girl walks in,
And
Megumi Asakura.
he's also spending the whole time lamenting that he's supposed to be on vacation and he's spending his whole last day on vacation in his pajamas in a hospital.
Yep. Um, and see what I wrote down.
And he goes on another big rant about blaming Onizuka for his fishing accident.
Yeah, he's blaming Onizuka, and then this girl walks in, Megumi Asakura, and she's just like, "Oh, hello,
And he
I am
even
Megumi." Or she walks in, she's like, "Oh, has anyone visited you?" And she has like flowers, she puts them in a vase, and he's like, "Oh, who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, I'm Megumi. I'm from class 4." And he reads like he's like class 4. That's Onizuka's class. Oh my god. Oh my god, Onizuka did this.
yeah, that was one of the funniest.
Yeah.
Because then she bends over.
He's like, oh, she's an assassin. She must be an assassin.
Then she bends over, showing him his butt or her butt.
Yeah.
And he blames Onizuka for getting horny.
Yeah. He's like, this is a sex trap. I know it. And then Anko is in the shower. She's showering, and she's like thinking about Yoshikawa, and she comes out in her towel, and Yoshikawa's just in the main room there. He's not in the bathroom. He's in the main room. Remember? And she comes out and she starts screaming. She's like, "Oh my god, what are you doing? You need to get out, get out, get out!" And then he starts to leave the front door because he didn't know that she was showering. And the two other roommates are there like, "Oh, sorry, we're interrupting." And they we need to close the door. She's like, "No, this is a misunderstanding. You need to get out. This is bad." And then let's see. Oh, and then later on, uh, Onizuka is recording her again with a tape. Um, I think this was right after, right? Because she walks in like the back of the room, I guess, and he's recording her with a mask on. He's just standing there. She's like, "Why are you recording me? This is horrible." He's like, and she's like,
Not
"Oh."
only that, but wasn't it a mask of Yoshikawa?
Yeah, it was. And then Onizuka know that she likes Yoshikawa, and she's like, "What? How do you know that?" And he like plays the video for her of her dreaming, and like before she wakes up, she's yelling
And moaning and
Yoshikawa's
yelling.
name. It's like, "Yoshikawa, I'm not ready for you. Oh my god, blah blah blah." And so she's really embarrassed, and he explains to her, "Hey, you're not honest with your feelings. You need to be honest with your feelings. You like them, but you don't want to say it."
And the camera he's using is the vice principal's, of course.
Yep, and then she throws it on the ground. She's like, "Oh my god, that costs like 48 that 140 something thousand yen." Oh, good thing it's the vice principals. That was good. Um, and then he says, "Oh, you're a person who can't fall in love because quote, you're who's afraid to get a brat who's afraid to get hurt can't love someone." That's what he says to her, and that kind of like is getting the wheels turning in her brain just a little bit, not completely, but just a little bit. Like, oh shit, and then kind of you're kind of reflecting yourself. And you're like, oh my god, where did these wise words come? Where are they coming from, Onizuka? Anyways, um, and then it cuts back to the vice principal, and Megumi tells her sunflower story. She was saying how she adores the principal, and she admires him because there was one day she was like a transfer student, and she was sitting by a patch of sunflowers, and the principal told her like sunflowers are called sunflowers because as the day goes on, the sunflowers follow the sun. So when it's in the west, they're facing west. When it's in the east, they're facing east, basically. And he basically said, you know, that's how people are. You need to follow like your dreams, and you gotta need to be confident in yourself, kind of story. And she's mentioning that like, oh, your story gave me courage, and I'm very thankful, and I want to be a teacher when I grow up, so I could give other kids courage.
I wasn't trying to distract you.
I was like, it is. Oh shit, it is. Uh, looking at the meme. It's half the year's over, by the way. And so that was a really good story. And then, you know, she leaves, and then the vice principal um, re- is doing some realization and reflecting, and he says to himself that he's bad because he can't trust others, because he can't trust Onizuka. He's blaming Onizuka for things. He's blaming the students for things. If something goes wrong, he gets in a bad mood. You know, when his Cresta gets stomped on 800 times.
Stomped on, it crashed, fallen on,
Uh, rolled down a
submerged,
hill backwards on.
stolen by biker gang.
Yep, all this stuff. And he reflects on it, and then Onizuka, like, I don't know, Fuyusuki comes in, she starts talking to the principal, and he's like, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna go out and help these kids, blah blah blah. And Onizuka like kicks down the door onto the vice principal, and she's like, oh, the vice principal. Oh, no time for him. I don't even know where he is. And he's like standing on the door, and the principal's underneath after he comes to this epiphany, and he's like, oh, we need to get ready for something. And then he like, next scene, he's banging on stuff, making noise. He's like, all right, class, get into your swimsuits. We're gonna do a special event. It's the last day on Okinawa. It's got to be magical. Blah blah blah. So that's the end of episode 40. And I wrote in my notes, episode is deep. Vice principal remembers his pure motivations, like to be a teacher and to teach, and that's where he gets his inspiration from. Like his he kind of, you know, after years and years and years, you start to forget why you're there, especially when you get up to higher like positions, stuff like that. You got to remember your roots. A lot of people forget their roots. It's hard to do that. Anyways, episode 41. Onizuka swimsuits. Everybody get into their swimsuit. Um, and he wants all the kids to come to this abandoned building, and he tells them a story like, oh, this building went bankrupt, and the owner put himself on fire, and there was like a shadow of a figure or whatever that looked like ash. I don't know if that was true, but starting to scare the kids, and he goes up to Mariah and is just like, being scared is a good way, and if you're in your swimsuits, you have more skin on skin contact. because he scares Fuyutsuki, and she's like goes up to him and is like, "Oh my god, I'm so scared." Um, anyways, where is
He
it?
pairs them back in groups. Anko and Yoshikawa,
Are the first ones on the list, and
Urumi, and the Gundam nerds.
yep, Arumi, the 200 IQ girl, is still stuck with those fucking nerds, and she's like, she continues to say, I don't know what they're saying.
And they go on a huge rant that her in her swimsuit reminds her of one character from Gundam.
Yep,
Saya.
Saya,
Yeah. I,
and it was Sarah with an S.
it's funny because I wrote more notes on the Gundam part. That's the one part where I decided I'm gonna just find a picture of the character and put it up.
Yeah.
When we
So,
do Tokyo Revengers, like with the character index, I decided I'm gonna put also pictures of each character
oh, that's helpful. Yeah, that makes sense.
just to make it easier for you
Yeah.
to associate them.
That's nice.
Because there's a lot of characters in Tokyo Revengers.
Oh, you told me many times. I'm well aware. Anyways, so there's a test of courage, and their goal is to write their names in a notebook so that's somewhere in the building. And Mirai and his gang and Fuyutsuki are there. They're like, hey, we don't have partners. He's like, oh, you guys get to do the fun part. You get to go around dressing up and scaring people. Abandoned building, kawaii, scary 200 nerds, scare others. Oh, and then the first thing that Anko and Yoshikawa see is someone on a motorcycle that's headless,
And bloody.
and yes, and bloody, and Anko is absolutely terrified. She's like, "Oh my god, he has no head! Oh my god, it's a ghost!" And then Yoshikawa's just like calm, and she's like bumps into him, and he's like, "That's obviously Onizuka. Like his head's too tall. Like what are you doing?" And she starts like blaming him. I was like, "How dare you knock me over?" And he was like, "I was just standing here. You're the one who knocked me over." He's like, "How dare?" She's like, "How dare you knock me over?" Blah 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 blah. Doing her accountable thing. Anyways, um, Headless Riders. Oh, and then if you guys, what was that? What's that movie with the 7 days?
The Ring.
The Ring. Oh yeah. So
Sadako is the they do a parody with the Urumi and the Gundam nerds find an abandoned TV in the hallway,
hmm
and it starts playing
they put the tape in, starts playing.
the footage from the Rain movie.
Yeah, basically, and they're watching it, and some like dead witch girl comes out and scares them, and like in the movie it says
Sadako.
Sadako,
Yep.
and it's just
Or Sadako's the Japanese
it's
name.
Fuyutsuki dressed up as this thing, and she scares him. She's like, "Oh, I could get used to the scaring thing." And she turns around, she sees a super scary figure. She's like, "Oh my god!" I think she passes out. Yeah, because we see her later, and she's just like on the ground, passed out.
Then it goes through a few, like, a um, quick draw of a few other scares
Yep.
that, like, they do the thin monster, um, man dog,
Oh, yeah.
uh, the thin monster, and that's all I put. I know there's at least one more. I
Yeah,
just don't.
that was one where Anko was laughing at him. She was laughing at all that stuff because it didn't scare her at all. Anyways, so next we see Kikuchi and one of the Miyabi minion girls. They get to the notebook because, of course, they find it like super quick, and they're talking. And uh, Kikuchi, like Astro's, like he's like, hey, pretty much everyone is on Onizuka's side, and I don't know why you're still on Miyabi's side. That doesn't make any sense. And she's like, well, Miyabi's, I can't abandon Miyabi. Like, she's my friend. So, um, she has to stick by her, um, just to be on her side. Because she still has her problem with teachers and stuff like that. And he's like, oh, okay, I suppose that makes
More
sense.
on that later.
Yeah.
Next
It's
episode.
kind of foreshadowing. Um, and then I put Uncle laughs at the scary things like the man dog, and she's just like, oh, it was one of Murai's friends.
And
um,
the thin monster.
yeah, I can't remember the other one, but she was laughing at like all
It,
four of these
it was
things.
just like another girl.
And then like Onizuka was in this suit that looked like a bug or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's the thin monster.
Oh, that's the thing monster. Okay. Let's see.
From the movie The Thin.
Wow. Uncle Last
I
Scary
don't know what
Things.
the man dog was from. But
Oh, and then these bullies or thugs or whatever, they put a sign down. They'll obviously and leads them to through the cane fields where they see the scary things, and they keep walking, and all of a sudden they run into this gang, four people, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you're looking pretty fine, girl. Yeah, you shouldn't be with that loser. You should be with us. Yeah, we can dance all night." It's like, hey, and they're like, "Hey, boss," and so they're like obviously thugs, right? They're not part of the school group. They're these guys are like flirting, trying to flirt with her, like, hey, you shouldn't be with this loser guy, blah blah blah, and scary. I need to find out where my notes are. Oh, bullies want to, and they want to quote unquote have fun with Anko, and so Yoshikawa starts fighting them, and immediately gets knocked out. And as he's knocked out, Anko
steps up and
and she's like, "No, I don't want to be with you. I want to be with uh,
Yoshikawa.
Yoshikawa." And so basically, she confesses her love by stating Yoshikawa's flaws. Like he's a loser. He's too short. Um, he gets bullied by girls. His grades aren't very good. You know, he's not very strong. He's just got KO'd with one punch.
Basically, the only thing he's good at is video games.
Yeah, pretty much. Um, and we find out that as she's saying all this stuff, um, Onizuka takes off his mask, and he's just like, "Oh, thank you. You just said how much you you like Yoshikawa. You finally confessed your feelings." And we find out it's Mirai and his gang, which are the other ones. And
Then Yoshikawa wakes up and throws a boulder at
yeah,
Onizuka's
he takes a rock to Onizuka's head, and the other guys are like, "No, no, no! It's Onizuka. It's just a trick. It's just a trick." And then Onizuka's like, "I'm gonna show this to the school." She's like, "Oh my god, this is gonna be a horrible thing. Oh my god, this is like the end of the world." Blah 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 blah. He's like, you know, you like him, blah blah. Yes, I do like him. Okay, blah blah blah. And then Onizuka gives her the tape and says, you use this to remember to be honest with your feelings. Um, and then she gets converted to Onizuka's side, basically, and then they're all like kind of hanging out, and I think they're, what's that thing called where they have the grill out, and you cook it there with vegetables. They have it like
um,
inside. I can't talk something.
uh,
It's like a barbecue, basically, above a fire, and one of the Gundam people is like about to take one, and I think it was the 200 IQ girl. She's like, "No, what are you doing? It's not ready yet. It's still raw." He's like, "Oh," and then Onizuka comes from the ocean carrying a sea turtle, and he's like,
that's not it.
"Oh, okay." He's carrying a sea turtle. He's like, "Hey, we should cook this," and all the students are like,
Hibachi.
"Hibachi?
Yeah.
Okay, it's a hibachi." So they're
Cause
cooking food on there, and then
I was
hibachi.
just trying to remember because there's one here, Kyoto, Hibachi
Oh,
Bar and Grill.
hibachi. Oh, I
I
should.
was trying to remember what's the one that's
I want to go there for my birthday, maybe.
here
I
where
don't
we
know.
live.
Yeah.
I
So
almost said where we live.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Don't say that. And so he wants to. Onizuka wants to cook the sea turtle, and students are like, "No, you can't cook that sea turtle. It's like protected or whatever." He's like, "Oh, but I want to. Oh man." Um, so that's the end of episode 41. So that's the last day of Okinawa. So in episode 42, excuse me, it gets really good. It gets amazing. This is so
This
good.
is the final
They knew it. They knew they were.
Queen Bitch episode.
Yep. This is all about Miyabi. All about Miyabi, the queen bitch. So we start off with Miyabi confronting some random guy, telling her that my friend was pregnant and committed suicide. Um, all thanks to you. Blah blah blah. And she takes out a knife and something happens and the guy gets stabbed. Um, and she runs away. And at first I was like, was that Miyabi? No, it couldn't have been Miyabi. But this is where we learn why she hates teachers and why the whole class doesn't trust teachers. Because Miyabi was the one that was most affected by this teacher and what he did. Um, so they learned that this teacher who got attacked was their previous um, teacher. It was their
From the
teacher from
last
last
year.
year. Yeah, and they know that we know that at that time we know that he betrayed the class, and the kids don't trust teachers, and that after that the kids were into torturing their teachers basically. Let's see. So we learned that the stabbed teacher, his name is Saito. Um,
I forgot I didn't write any notes for
yeah,
the last day.
that's fine. His name is Saito. I didn't. When I was doing this, I was like, I don't even want to write his name down because what he did. But anyway, so the stab teacher makes it easier. Stab teacher was in a relationship with one of the students, and if you think about it, okay, the teacher at the time was 24, and so she would have been like 13, 14. Very like red flag, very red flag, very red flag, especially in our culture. Um,
And also 30 years later. Or
oh
20,
yeah, yeah. This is in the late
97.
99 it came out, right?
97 or 99.
Yeah, 99 2000 I think it was. Pretty sure it was 99. That's what it said. Anyways, so this student that he was in a relationship with was Miyabi's friend, and the friend is her name is Mizuki
99.
Yokoyama, and we learned that Mizuki Yokoyama committed suicide.
Or
Um,
98 for the anime. Live action was 99.
okay, cool. Um, and that the teacher resigned, but when as he did so, he denied that there was any relationship, which was strange, and which started the terrorizing of teachers. And then, you know, there's rumors going around that it was Miyabi because Miyabi's not coming to class, and they said it was a girl that ran from the scene, and so they're like, oh, it's got to be Miyabi, and so Kikuchi and everyone else starts investigating, uh, and we learn through the episode that the teacher, uh, that teacher Saito wanted a relationship with uh, the student, so it wasn't like forced. It was they both fell in love with each other. Um, however, the board of education their credibility would have been ruined if their relationship went public. So we learned that he basically was forced to resign um, and was transferred to a different school. Um, and the only reason Miyabi like confronted him was because she found out that he was teaching, and everybody thought that he got he resigned and wasn't teaching again. Um, so she found him and blah blah blah. Um, and then we learned that this girl, Mizuki Yokoyama, was pregnant, and um, Miyabi wants revenge on the school board as well. And so they realized that Miyabi was smart enough to go up to the school board, um, as well, because she blames not only the teacher but the school board for her friend committing suicide. And so she goes to like a parking area, and she starts talking to him. She's like, "Oh, do you remember this girl? Yeah, she was my friend." Blah blah blah. And she pulls out a knife and she's about to stab him, but he's like trying to get away. And then Onizuka comes in the nick of time on his motorcycle and says, "This is my student. You need to get away from her right now." And he's like, "Oh, I'm on the you're a teacher. Oh, I'm on the board of education. You're gonna be fired for this." He's like, "I don't care. Come after me, bro." Uh, and so he takes Miyabi like on the he's like, "Miyabi, you need to get on the motorcycle right now. Like we need to go." And so Onizuka takes Miyabi to back to the corrupt police guy, and they're both sitting in a cell together, and he's trying to like ask questions and stuff like that. Um, and on the other hand, the board, and he's asking, he's like, "Why did you stab the teacher? Did you stab him?" And she didn't acknowledge anything. She just stayed quiet. And we find out that the board wants Onizuka fired and Miyabi arrested.
Can you?
Oh, fireworks!
Just so everybody knows, because I do see it's getting picked up by the mic. There are fireworks going off, so that's the booming noises.
Yeah, it's not the bathroom where someone's taking a dump.
Because it's being picked up by the mic. That's why I asked, can you please stop?
It's explosive diarrhea in the other room. Don't worry about it.
That's
it
why
smells.
I asked you to pause, just so I could see if it was being picked up by the mic.
Okay, that's fine. Um, uh, and yeah, so basically, the board goes to the school and they're like, "Hey, we want Onizuka fired and Miyabi arrested." And the chairwoman is like, "Well, we don't know where they're at." And they're like, "You need to fire him and find her by tomorrow, or else we're gonna take your license away. The school will be shut down." And that's the end of episode 42 and 43.
The
The
finale.
climax, the amazing climax, the explosion of awesomeness that is yet to come. Um, so at the beginning of the episode, the stabbed teacher, we find out the stabbed teacher was unaware of uh, Mizuki's pregnancy
Yep.
and the fact that she committed suicide. Totally unaware. The only time when he found out about it was when Miyabi confronted him and had the knife and he got stabbed or whatever. Um, and it's the Board of Education's decision that led to the suicide, and it was covered up. There was another reason why Miyabi is pissed off at the board is because when she committed suicide, it was in none of the papers, and she felt betrayed by all these adults, by the teacher who resigned and didn't do anything, and by the Board of Education. And so she's like, I don't believe adults, blah blah blah. I don't believe them.
Very understandable.
Yeah, and it explains a lot.
Why
We
she
finally
is
get this
treating
explanation.
Onizuka so
Yeah,
horribly.
and like throughout the whole like series, um, as Onizuka is saving people, rescuing people, you kind of start like you're like, oh shit, she's in, like, the other kids were in trouble, but she's in major trouble. She needs the most help. So when she's about to stab this guy, Onizuka did the right thing and just got her the fuck out of there. And like, no, this is my student. You can fuck off, Mr. Board Member. I don't give a shit. And he's like, oh, you're gonna be fired. He's like, come at me, bro. That was so like great and awesome to see, and like you're like cheering for it, like all this build up throughout the entire series, all these 40 some episodes, and it
43.
come yeah, well, 42, and then now 43 comes up to this crescendo of like, yeah, come on, Onizuki, you gotta make it. You can't let her down. Anyways, um, and then all the teachers are having a meeting with the chairwoman, and she says, "We are professionals of the sacred vocation," and a lot of people are like, "Oh shit." Well, so basically, what that means is that the students are more important than their jobs and the school getting shut down, basically. Because there wouldn't be a board without students. There wouldn't be a school and teachers without students. Those institutions are for the students to learn and to teach them and to protect them and all that stuff. Um, and so basically, her plan is to go against the board and to have courage to go against these people that have um, power over them. Anyways, so oh yeah, there's a scene when Tomoko is um, in the office, and Onizuka is calling her agent, and he's like, I need you to do this. I need you to do this. He's like, but we're just a small like company. He's like, no, you need to do this, and we don't know what's happening, but she's like talking to this other guy in the background, and they're like, oh, this, you smell like tobacco. Oh, it smells really gross. That's a really bad habit. Here, let me get the smell out. So she opens the window, and the wind comes in and blows all the papers away. Just a typical Tomoko moment, like, that's funny. And she's like, "Oh, let me help you." And the guy's like, "No, no, no, I've got it." Because if you have a person like that, I've dealt with people like that in the past, and it's like, "No, no, you go over there in the corner. We'll clean it up. Because if you try to clean it up, you'll just make it worse." Anyways, at this moment, Kikuchi hacks the hospital. He's looking for any kind of records on on the girl who committed suicide, and he can't find anything. However, Yoshikawa finds um, Saito's homepage. Let's see. Oh, I wrote down chairwoman equals badass, stands up to board, and then Saito's homepage. Um, we find out that Saito, he didn't betray the students. He wasn't, because he was not aware that the girl committed suicide and stuff like that. Um, he resigned, and then the board kind of did a cover up thing. Let's see. And then there's the meeting with the board members and the staff of the school, and the vice president spits fire at the board member. It's so great to watch. Like, um, and he turns it on them that they are the criminals for letting this girl die, and you fired him, had him resign, and now she killed herself. So you're guilty of three crimes. You're guilty of the the baby, you're guilty of the girl, and you're guilty of this teacher. Blah blah blah. And the board is like no no you have to do what we say or else we're gonna shut you down. We have the power. You have no evidence that we did anything with the girl, that we had anything to do with that suicide, and there was no cover up or anything. There's no evidence of that. And yeah, organization exists for the students. For the students, blah. Um, and then magically Onizuka appears, and he's like, "Hello, I'm Onizuka," and they're like, "Oh, that's the man we need to fire. Ah, you're gonna be fired." And they're like, "Oh, Onizuka." Fuyutsuka said, "Oh, Onizuka. Oh my god. Oh my god. Uh, what are we gonna do?" And he's like, "Oh, don't worry, I got a plan. They should be here any minute." And so then all these like press people come in, and they're asking questions to the board. They're like, "Is it true that this girl committed suicide under your watch, and are you going to take responsibility for it?" And then in order to protect Miyabi, uh, Onizuka admits to stabbing the uh, the teacher to protect her, protect Miyabi, and everybody's surprised at this, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm going to jail." And Miyabi's like, "Wait, are you? Did you do this for me?" He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she starts crying. She's like, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Because finally someone has stood up for her. Um, and then the lies of the board get exposed on TV, and then um, what puts the final dagger is that the guy who was in critical condition, he wakes up, so he's able to tell the story of what happened and stuff like that. So we don't know what happens to the board because the episode kind of ends where Onizuka gets arrested. He's about to step into a car, and he starts running away. And then like 2 months later, it's like Fuyutsuki is like on the roof, and she's staring, and the chairwoman comes. She's like, "Oh, what are you staring at? What are you out here for?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just thinking about Onizuka." He's like, "Oh, you want him to come back, huh? Because you like him." And she's like, "Oh, don't worry. As long as you're here, he'll come back." And like 2 months later, he's on a motorcycle, and at the very end, you goes through all the credits. At the very end, he's like, "Hi, I'm GTO," and all the kids in the class are like, "What?" They're like, "I'm great teacher Onizuka." So he goes off to a different place, and he wants to teach all over again and just help more people. And it ends. And it's so great that 14 out of 10. That's what I gotta say. It was so awesome. It was so great. Especially the ending, the build up, and him getting the Anko and
Yoshikawa.
Yoshikawa together, and then finally helping Miyabi in his own way, even taking the blame for the stabbing, even though he obviously wasn't there and didn't do it. Um, but then runs away from the cops because he doesn't want to get arrested. Huh? Who would have thought? So, yeah, that was a great ending. Great show, especially getting all the kids on his side, and now all these kids want to help and stuff like that. That's like really cool. He's just like a down to earth guy that wants to help, and just inspires people around you. Like if I was a principal of a school, I would tell any teacher I was hiring, I was like, if you want to teach here, you need to watch this show. You need to watch Great Teacher Onizuka, because it's helped me be more calm, especially on people who are having trouble. It's like, oh, maybe they're not mad at me. Maybe they're mad at something that happened, and then you gotta ask, and you gotta do your thing. You gotta punch some people. You gotta sometimes you gotta string them up. Sometimes you gotta be pervy. You know, you gotta look at
Look
skimpy,
up girl
skimpy
skirts.
skimpy magazines with a bunch of other boys who are underage.
Or look up
You gotta
girl skirts
you gotta
up an
pretend.
escalator.
Yep, you gotta pretend to date their mom. Um, but yeah, that was good. He's the number one thing is the students, like, right, and so that was cool and inspiring. Uh, but yeah, 14 out of 10. It was really good. I liked how it ended. It ended very well. Some shows just end abruptly or they end badly, where like it's just a bad ending. It doesn't make any sense. There's no conclusion. But this one concluded very good, and it sets up for another season. But there obviously wasn't another any more episodes with it. But if they decide to bring it back, like I don't know, like 25 years later, like do it.
It'd be more likely a reboot, not a sequel.
That's true. They can just start. They can just start.
And it wouldn't be as good because there's so much stuff they got away with 25 years ago that would not fly at all
Yeah.
nowadays.
Yep. Especially like in that
All the perviness.
when Anko was taking a shower, like showed her not here. She didn't show any like naked parts, but it was showed her naked, and she's like underage. So, uh, yeah. Um, but it was still good. It was still fun to see all that and stuff.
That that is our wrap of Great Teacher Onizuka. If anybody knows a way to watch the live action movie, I'd be up for watching and reviewing that too.
Pirate that shit.
Uh, please comment if you do know a way. Also, please like, subscribe, and comment anything we should watch next. We're gonna do The Boys season 4, episode 6,
On
probably Friday.
On Discord
night.
though.
Yeah.
Right?
Or, well, that's how we normally do it. Like, yeah, through Discord. We won't be in person.
Yeah.
And then next week we're gonna start reviewing the Dresden Files TV show.
Yep. What network is that on? Or
It's on Prime Video.
oh, it is. Okay. Then I can watch it.
We'll do episode 1 and 2. We'll do 2 a week.
Yep.
They're 45-minute episodes. So. And
that'll work.
then after that, we will do Tokyo Revengers, as we mentioned earlier.
Oh God! Oh, what am I walking into? Watch Skeeter be tortured by DervDerp by watching all these animes. How long will I last? Tune in to see how long it takes for me to go crazy and start talking gibberish.
And also, even we're looking at possibly starting to just review like regular movies. Comment any movies we should watch.
Yeah, and we'll only take suggestions from you guys. We won't pick. Well, maybe we'll pick some ourselves, but for movies, it'll be suggestions as long as they're not like 4 hours long. Come on.
Once again, like, subscribe, comment, and also pretty soon I will have the ability to have members, hopefully. So soon, please become a member.
Yeah, if you want. No pressure.
Waiting for the application to go through.
Yep.
Once again, that's DervDerp and Friends Reviews. I'm DervDerp.
I am Ski Nerd.
And this is Great Teacher Onizuka, final 4 episodes.
Definitely watch it if you want to. Definitely watch it. Totally worth it. I had low expectations for it, but turned out to be awesome. Okay, bye. We need an outro. Be like, good, like Markiplier's, goodbye, or he's like, bye bye.